Hello again, this is Lisa from LisaMW.com coming to you today with another Lunch with Lisa, except lunch today is water, yay! That's all I have in my office right now. I thought I would share with you a little bit about my Prince experience and how it sort of dovetailed with the work that I was doing. So I may do this in a couple parts because it's probably a little bit long. So to give you some backstory, I was a Prince fan from the first time I saw him in 1979 on Midnight Special, for you oldsters like me who remember that. And I remember, you know, he was wearing like little panties and thigh-high boots. And I really remember being in the apartment where my mom and I lived, walking into the television room and looking at it like, what is going on here? What is that action? What, like, man, woman, I didn't know what to make of this because it was unlike anything I had ever seen. And from that moment, I was hooked. And I was a huge Prince fan before anybody had ever heard of Purple Rain and all of that. I say that as a badge of honor. I liked him before anybody knew who he was. And I was like a Stellar fan, like a major Stellar fan. And I think he came to the Baltimore Civic Center early on, like around the 1999 tour time, I think, and I wanted to go so badly. And that was back in the day where you had to go down to the venue, stand in line for hours and get tickets. And I didn't hear about it until the morning of the show. So my mom, bless her heart, drove me down to the Baltimore Civic Center, and I ran in to see if there were any tickets left, and there were not. And I could see his tour bus because in the top part, you know, where they show on the bus above where the driver is, they show the location or where they're going or whatever. And this one just said Rude Boy, and that was the button that he wore in the Dirty Mind album. And I was like, oh, it's him. And so I like stood there with my hands on the bus crying. I was 20. I was hormonal. I don't know what. And I stood there crying, and my mom rolls up in her car, rolls down the window, and she's like, get in the car. And I cried all the way home. So I just want to give you some background that I was a huge Prince fan for a very long time, probably until like the mid-90s, I guess. I sort of like lost track of what was going on with him. He had written Slave on his cheek, and I didn't understand what he was trying to do. It was never, I get it now, but back then I didn't understand it. And I didn't understand any of what he was doing. And it sort of, you know, kind of made me sad because this was my dude. And so I just stepped away from it. Now I did go see him in concert when it came to Northern Virginia. I was probably like 2001, 2002, something like that. And I will recall that it was not a good show at all. He was late, and I was so disappointed because I had seen him twice before. I saw him on the Purple Rain tour, and I saw him on the Love Sexy tour. And, you know, there was nobody better. So I was like, what happened here? And so I thought, okay, it's me. I've changed. I'm moving in a different direction. Okay. And so that was it. I just kind of stepped really far away. And it wasn't probably until, I don't know, Facebook maybe 2013, 2014, something like that, that I found a group called the Prince Museum or something like that. And they just posted Prince pictures and whatever. And so I just started following it. And it was just kind of like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, okay, yeah. And so I was sort of like back into that energy. I remember when Prince joined Twitter, and it was just like, oh, dude, like I knew it was him. I knew it was, anyway. Be that as it may. Somewhere in like 2015, I saw a picture of him in, it was in an award show, and he was wearing his big afro and an orange outfit. And he was very, very thin, like even thin for him. And I remember looking at that picture going, something's not right here. Something's not right. And I just like, it wouldn't go away that he was not well. Is pretty much what I took from that. So, you know, my friends who are astrologers, like we pulled out a natal chart and we're looking at it to see what's going on. And everything was like something, but inconclusive for what they could read. Okay. So the morning of April 21st in 2016, I was hanging out online and I saw come across that there was an emergency. Oh yeah, wait, let me go back. There was that issue with him and the airplane. They had to make that forced landing because he went into some kind of overdose situation. And so that's when I really, like, my radar went up. But then like 2 days later, he's out riding his bike and looking fine. And I thought, okay. He said it was the flu, maybe it's the flu. So, okay, so the morning I'm watching that there's a medical emergency at Paisley Park. And it was like, I knew, gone. And so when I read the words that he had died, I went into some funky kind of shock that I can't even explain to you. But, and my Lisa brain couldn't make sense of it because I didn't know him personally. I didn't understand why I was receiving this news as a trauma, but like a serious trauma. And so I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and walked around the house and really was just a big old mess. And so I thought, I got to get out of the house. I got to go do something. So I get my keys and I go out to the car and I'm opening my car door and I hear, in the way that I do, so I kind of hear it in here, hi. And I knew it was him, even though I had never engaged with his energy ever before. And I knew it was him. And oh my God, I was spitting mad. I was mad at him. And I said, you go away. I am mad at you. I am upset. I'm going to throw up right here on the lawn. I'm very upset. You go away. I was traumatized. What can I say? And he was like, okay, I was just coming by to say hello to some people. I'm like, well, you can go away. You go away. And so he was like, all right. And so I drove down got my car, drove down to the store, Tuesday morning, Monday store. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. And I love to look at notebooks and things like that. And so I'm looking at notebooks and one falls on the floor and I look at it and it's purple. And I was like, and I go to pick it up and as God is my witness, it's a purple notebook that says Purple Rain on it. And I was like, I told you to go away. Like I seriously said that out loud in the store. I told you to go away. And he was like, okay. So of course I bought the notebook and I took it up to the counter and I put it on the counter and the woman at the counter looked at me and all she said was, I'm so sad. And I said, I'm really sad too. And it was like, we didn't even have to say why we were sad or any of that. It was like very simple communication, like, I feel you. So got the notebook, went home. My husband hugged me for like an hour because I was just all distraught. And God bless him, he doesn't get it as his own experience. He gets it through me. So I was really grieving and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know him personally and I didn't understand why he showed up. I didn't understand any of it. All I knew was that I was not ready to ask him back in. So there was, his last concert that was, I think, in Atlanta, a recording, somebody had recorded it, and that was like all over the internet. And there was a version of him singing Purple Rain. And it was very ethereal and otherworldly. And so I listened to that over and over and over. And I cried and cried and cried. Probably for 3 days, I cried. I cried through all of it. And I came to understand a couple of things. So I'll stop this portion of it here. I came to understand a couple of things. The first thing was that his death for me brought up underlying grief for my dad who died when I was 15, for my goddaughter who died in 2006. Grief that I hadn't yet processed. But through his passing, I was able to unearth it and release it. So that was a beautiful thing. And the second thing I came to understand, only in hindsight really, was that his soul and my soul had an agreement to do some work together. I didn't know what that was at the time, but what happened was when he died, I believe this, when he died, my soul went like, okay, it's go time. It's go time now. And I didn't understand that, but my soul knew that we were kicking something into action. And, you know, here it is almost 2.5 years later, more than 2.5 years later. And my whole world changed because of that event and because of his presence in my life going forward. So it was a process for me to be able to work with the knowledge that my soul knew his, and I think that's why I liked him so much when I first saw him. My soul knew his, and my soul also had to prepare to do some of the work that we were going to do together, and that there would be a period where I would have to release stuff that wouldn't allow me to do that work as fully as I could. So, all right, so that's part 1 of my Prince story. I will be back with part 2. See you.